Almost every strategy game on the market heavily encourages warfare, domination, and imperialism. It pushes play styles and win conditions to controlling resources, wealth, and population control, and often the historical themes of these games only exemplifies the mission of conquest. Most tales of kings involve expanding their power or reclaiming it from other kings. The average person, and often historians, judge a particular culture based on the lands it occupied or the peoples it defeated. But a strange thing happens when examining modern nations. They don't conquer much. There are a few examples like China, Russia, and Morocco, but by and large there haven't been any Alexander the Great style campaigns since at least World War II. Why are there no modern conquests? Like most of my topics, it's pretty complicated, but it can be broken down into three big reasons. Our politics, economics, and technology. Politically, the world is in an interesting position. There are hundreds of independent countries that all deal with the United States of America. Sure, there are other big countries with their own factions like China and Russia, but neither have the supremacy of the US. I mean, China needs to build artificial islands just to lay claim to a small but significant portion in the South China Sea. And Russia needs to tell the whole world that Crimea actually wants to be a part of Russia in order to occupy it. They do this because basically any act of aggression will be met by force from the United States, the European Union, or any other alliance. Essentially, everyone is allied with each other, and a small act of aggression can bring the whole world into war. It's not like the Cold War, though. There are no major players for the countries to align to. The diplomatic options for a particular country are be friends with the West and its allies, or be a jerk to the West and its allies. And if they choose to be a jerk, well then they're gonna have to expect some economic sanctions that'll sap their economy. Which leads to the more important reason, money. You've probably heard that war is profitable. Well, really it's not. From the age of antiquity to the war in Yemen, war costs a ton of money, and states often had to take on debt to fund their campaigns, and oftentimes countries would crumble under the weight of their expenses. Whenever you're told war makes money, it's really only for a select few, like companies in the military-industrial complex, officials in war departments, or those who would literally inherit the spoils of war. The modern economy does not like the destructiveness of war. In the past, the investment for war eventually paid off in the newly acquired lands, because basically before the Industrial Revolution, the only way to make any money was to exploit the land, either by mining, growing crops, or owning the trade routes between exotic resources. All these things required owning land, or at least controlling it, so it was only natural to judge institutions based on their land for thousands of years. But after the Industrial Revolution, things began to change. For the first time in history, productivity can greatly outpace the labor power of a human or a beast of burden, and products of great quantities were produced in factories or artisan shops, which compared to farms are really small. On top of that, they could be made anywhere, so industries encouraged centralization in certain areas, further shrinking the land and necessitating a need for a stable, educated, and income-driven populace. This is why the population of farmers for most countries has shrank from over half in the 1800s to about 10% today. Think about it, do you actually earn anything from your land, or how about your neighbors? How about the most important areas of your country? Educated people creating and collaborating are the true gold mines of today's economy. Land is almost irrelevant. That's why Russia and California have almost the same sized economy. And that's why Japan almost has no resources, yet is still the third largest economy, and no one even bothers to think about the Congo. Blowing up infrastructure and killing the people will not make any country wealthier. As a matter of fact, it'll probably make it poorer, because that government money can be better spent somewhere else, not to mention the reinvestment that will require to rebuild the land. If the invading nation is going to use the conquered populace for something other than slavery, they're going to have to pay for their institutions like education and possibly healthcare. That is if the nation can deal with the now thousands of people that want to destroy all of their money-making stuff. Now, you may say, what about invading oil countries? Didn't America invade Iraq for its oil? Wasn't toppling Saddam a way to keep American corporate interests satisfied? Iraq would need its own entire video, so I'll keep my rebuttals brief. The invasion of Iraq costed the United States an incredible amount of money. Gas prices continued to rise until they dropped like a rock from unrelated circumstances. Iraq doesn't even have enough money to support itself, and America nearly lost everything it achieved in the Iraq War only a couple of years later. Even if America went full red, white, and blue and annexed an oil-rich country like Venezuela, it would have to pay off the invasion and then stabilization of the region in order to start turning a profit. Mind you, from a resource it already has an abundance of. The money would be better spent on West Virginia or Mississippi. The only way an invasion would be profitable to our modern economy is if we were truly running out of a resource. And even then, it's probably cheaper and more productive just to find an alternative. Finally, the most important reason, because it created the first two reasons, is technology. Although I already did talk about technology in the economy section, there's still more technology to talk about. So, fictional scenario. China annexes Guam in 2019. America nukes it back to the Stone Age. China responds by nuking America into a glow zone. The rest of the world enters a nuclear ice age and everyone dies. This is the scenario for any nuclear power or its allies invading another nuclear power and its allies. Which, let me remind you from earlier, is almost everyone. But those are rich countries duking it out. What about weaker, poorer nations? Technology should favor the rich states invading them, right? But the baseline for today's technology actually favors the poor over the rich. Alright, another scenario. Let's say a rich country annexes a not-so-rich country. Well, then the oppressed will fight back with guns that, mind you, will probably be cheap and outdated, but can still kill a normal soldier. Or how drones, cameras, cell phone eavesdropping, and other surveillance technologies still let a lot of things slip through the cracks. Because big data still travels pretty slowly. Basically, 50-year-old technology makes it almost impossible for even our modern technology to dominate militants. And on top of that, it basically makes it pointless to own any of this land. It is so much easier to just pay a government to oppress its own people to extract resources the economy needs than to outright take it. But that really isn't conquering, is it? Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And on top of that, leave a comment. For some reason, YouTube really likes that. And I don't know about you, but I actually don't like receiving notifications on my phone. I find it very annoying, so I'm not going to tell you to ring the bell. But if you want to find me, just go to your subscriptions category in your YouTube playing device, and you should be able to find me there.